Trump is deploying National Guard to Washington, D.C., effectively taking over the city's police department. Trump made that announcement yesterday, putting Attorney General Pam Bondi in charge. He called it, quote, Liberation Day for the nation's capital, amid claims that D.C. is one of the most dangerous cities in the world. This despite police data showing that violent crime has been trending down for a second year in a row.
This issue directly impacts the functioning of the federal government and is a threat to America, really. It's a threat to our country. We have other cities also that are bad, very bad. You look at Chicago, how bad it is. You look at Los Angeles, how bad it is. We have other cities that are very bad. New York has a problem. And then you have, of course, Baltimore and Oakland. We don't even mention that anymore. They're so far gone. We're not going to let it happen. We're not going to lose our cities over this. And this will go further. We're starting very strongly with D.C., and we're going to clean it up real quick, very quickly, as they say. You'll have more police, and you'll be so happy, because you'll be safe. When you walk down the street, you're going to see police, or you're going to see FBI agents. We're going to have a lot of agents on the street. And you're going to have a lot of, essentially, military, and we will bring in the military if it's needed, by the way.
More than 800 National Guard members will be activated. A spokesperson for the U.S. Army says most of the troops live locally and will likely be deployed in shifts of about 200 soldiers each, starting later this week. Their main duty will be to support federal agents, many of whom have already been deployed to this city. Officials with the Drug Enforcement Administration have started clearing homeless campsites, while 120 FBI agents have been authorized to work various shifts. A senior law enforcement official tells NBC News that number is expected to rise in the coming days. The president is able to take over D.C.'s Metropolitan Police Department for up to 30 days under the city's Home Rule Act. This is the first time a president has done so. Democratic Mayor Muriel Bowser expressed her disappointment yesterday, but also made it clear she plans to comply with the order.
While this action today is unsettling and unprecedented, I can't say that given some of the rhetoric of the past, that we're totally surprised. My tenor will be appropriate for what I think is important for the district. And what's important for the district is that we can take care of our citizens. And if people are concerned about a president's ability to have the MPD police department be responsive to the Department of Justice, the time to address that is when we're talking about statehood for DC. If people are concerned about the president being able to move the National Guard into our city, the time to do that would have been when the Congress had a bill that it could have given control of the DC National Guard to DC.
Now, response to President Trump's federal takeover of the city's law enforcement was immediate. D.C. residents took to the streets yesterday to protest the president's announcements, while city and state leaders from across the country also criticized the decision. The Democratic Mayors Association released a statement that reads in part, quote, if Trump actually cared about our communities, he would be working with our cities, not against them. But the truth is, Trump doesn't care. He only wants to create yet another political charade to serve his own interests and distract Americans from his failures. Meanwhile, Maryland Governor Wes Moore responded to President Trump's idea of extending the security measures to Baltimore, writing, quote, we've achieved among the most impressive drops in violent crime anywhere in the country over the past 2.5 years. We await outreach from the White House if they want to have a serious conversation about public safety, but we won't hold our breath. In Illinois, Governor J.B. Pritzker argued the Constitution would stop Trump from sending troops to Chicago.
It's not surprising to me that he suggests violating the law. He's done it many times and been convicted of it 34 times. And so I would just say he has absolutely no right and no legal ability to send troops in to the city of Chicago.
I just read all the statistics about how well your city is doing. I mean, the numbers dropping in a precipitous way is extraordinary, not something that we're used to seeing. And as you said, I'm not hearing any mayor saying, hey, we're perfect yet. We still have work to do. So let me ask you this. When you hear Muriel Bowser, who obviously pushed back hard on what he had to say about her city, she's proud of her city. She believes the millions of people who visit there every year enjoy her city. But she said, we're going to try to work with them, see how we can use them. Do you see a role? Could you see a role if the president wanted to send federal troops, ATF, DEA, other folks, in a sense, to backfill what you already have?
Well, this is the reality. All of us work with our federal partners every day. I just stood with my local FBI special agent in charge just a few weeks ago. But this is not what the president is talking about. And we all have to be reminded that many of these local agencies who've been working alongside our police to deal with the stuff that they signed up to do, ATF, FBI, they signed up to deal with violent drug organizations, gun traffickers, all of those folks have been taken off that to go on this barrage of focusing on immigration just because people are working, right? Not even focusing on the violent immigrants. Does not fall prey to this mind trick that the president is doing. If the president wanted to do it that way, they would just do it the way that it happens every single day in American cities, allowing those local agents in charge to work and bring folks in to already having the investigations that are already underway, to working alongside these folks, not trying to militarize, not trying to come in and be the big bad president. This is a distraction tactic. Every mayor in the country works with their federal law enforcement partners, including me. And what we've been able to do, and as I said before, the president could learn a lot about leadership from what these mayors are doing. They have brought together the law enforcement community, the legal community, the community itself, with all the work going around community violence intervention, all together to work united as a united front to deal with violence in these cities. And what the president is talking about is putting that at risk. And when the funding cuts that they have been doing is putting that at risk, this is what we should be doing, working together as we always have and expanding that work.
The governor of your state, Wes Moore, who, of course, is a veteran. He understands how the National Guard works. He put out a statement saying the move lacks seriousness and is deeply dangerous. So I wonder if you've had conversations with him about potentially formulating a plan for if or when the president would make additional moves in your city.
Yeah, listen, I talk to my fabulous governor almost every day, and we're going to be prepared to take whatever actions we have to take legally or otherwise when and if that day comes. But right now, we will not be distracted from the reality and the most important thing, that we continue this historic reduction of violence in our city. This is not just a pet issue for us. This is not just a right now issue for us. This is an everyday, every moment issue, and we will not allow the president or anyone else to distract us from that, because yes, we are safer than we have been on record, but we're not safe enough for me, because I will not rest until not just here in Baltimore, but every city is having a discussion that we're not talking about murder, that we're not talking about shootings. But if the president wanted to help, there are some things that he could do. He could outright go to his friends at Glock and get rid of Glock switches. He could outright ban assault rifles that only should be used by the military. He could outright say that we're going to not allow ghost guns to be built in this country. But he won't do that because this is just about talk for him, not about real action that can save lives.
You know that this is not the first time he has targeted your city. During his first term, he very famously referred to Baltimore as a disgusting rat and rodent-infested mess. He called it more dangerous than conditions at the southern border. At the time, his attacks were condemned as racist. What do you think is happening here now? Do you hear that again because the population is majority black?
Well, listen, every single city that he called out yesterday has a black mayor.
On Capitol Hill, reaction was split along party lines. Republican lawmakers cheered the move on social media. Senate Majority Leader, John Thune of South Dakota called it a positive step. And House Speaker Mike Johnson spoke for his entire caucus, saying House Republicans support this effort. Senate Minority Leader, Democratic Chuck Schumer of New York, called out Republicans for supporting the president's order, implying they were hypocritical. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries was more blunt in his response, telling the president to, quote, get lost. someone who should not get lost, is joining us now. White House reporter for the Associated Press. You like that,
yes.
Darlene? Was that a good transition?
Yes.
Darlene Superville, thank you so much, Darlene. I appreciate it. All right, you were in the press conference yesterday with Donald Trump. Give us a sense of what it was like in that room.
Oh, my gosh. The room was packed, well beyond packed that I've ever seen it before. I have an assigned seat in the front row, and I had to push through a crush of people to get to my seat. And the president came out, and interestingly enough, one of the first things he said was, oh, you know, I've never seen so many people in this room, and segued to, that's why we need a ballroom.
I am the prize, Donald Trump. Obviously, he's been talking about taking over D.C. He's been criticizing the city for its crime for years now. Crime is, of course, dropping from its heights in 2023, relative heights, I should say, in 2023. Why did he make the move at this point, do you think?
I think the short answer is because he can. And as you say, we've seen this from him already. And I think what he announced yesterday certainly was not a surprise. He had already been on social media over the weekend and even the week before, talking about increasing the federal law enforcement presence in D.C. and mentioned a couple of times about threats about potentially taking over the city or the police department. And we saw this already with L.A., where he sent the National Guard in and Marines into Los Angeles after there were some immigration protests there. So it's just a continuation, I think, of his just wanting to be in control of more and more and more of the country and cities and that sort of thing.
It does seem a little bit like he's testing how far he can push it. I mean, there was notable that he said Baltimore, Oakland, Chicago, they may be next.
Right. He did mention those cities, and he did say that many of those cities are watching what he's doing, you know, what he's doing, because, and then they will take steps, in his words, to self-clean up and
see more and more blue state figures speak up, right? Because right now, the federal government is under Trump's control, but states have a lot of power in the United States. There are clearly demarcated lines between federal and state responsibility, but those lines often also blur. And what we've been seeing in recent weeks, the last couple months, is blue states say whether or not we're going to withhold money or pass our own laws or bring court challenges or pass executive orders at the local and state level. We are going to do what we can, how we can, to resist Donald Trump. Both because in some cases, these legal challenges and laws can either stop or mitigate some of what Trump's doing. But also, guys, let's be clear, even in cases where the laws will lose, because we know ultimately the Supreme Court is conservative dominated, you slow Trump down, you energize your base, and also you make him spend political capital. We've talked about this. Don't obey in advance is not only just a philosophy, like don't obey to the totalitarian in advance. It's a principled thing, but it's also a tactical thing. If you give him what he wants without any pushback, he didn't have to waste a single ounce of political capital making that far-right change. But if you protest and you pass laws and you take it to the Supreme Court, even if you know it'll fail ultimately, then you've still made him waste time and effort. And what we saw with him down in LA with his stupid military birthday parade and how that was protested by, I don't know, was it like it was one of the biggest nationwide protests in modern memory, right? He spent political capital there. He did that because of the Epstein stuff and people not letting up. He's spending political capital to try and just bury that story, right? And so keep this in mind. Democrats speaking out, even if the laws that are being proposed don't ultimately come to fruition, they're still part of a resistance.